Hello, I had an idea a few months ago regarding that classic opening motif that Dave Gilmour plays on Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which was this. If you strip away all his performance of it and you just focus on the actual notes, the pattern of those notes is remarkably similar to what you would find in a doorbell. Okay? So like there's the classic bing bong at one extreme, and then at the other extreme, you have the Westminster chimes that you'd hear on something like Big Ben with ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, all that, right? Well, that's obviously a spectrum of possibilities for chimes, and that motif, those four notes that he chose, is a really great doorbell, I reckon. So I decided I had to find out what would it sound like on a doorbell. Like if you just play the notes on their own, would that be enough? Does that still capture the essence of it? Or is there something in his particular performance? What is it? At what point does it become recognizably Shine On You Crazy Diamond? There was nothing more to it than purely my interest and amusement in it. It was an intellectual curiosity, nothing else. But I was determined. I suddenly had an itch and it had to be scratched. So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. Allow me to explain. So I went on to Amazon, where else obviously, and had a look for doorbells that would allow me to input a tune of my own into it. And most of them don't actually say you can input your own music. Most of them say you can record your favorite music. So I'm guessing that the target market for these things is people who want to have, I don't know, their favorite Beyonce track or something playing when somebody comes to the door. But I had a look at this one, and this is a wireless doorbell recordable Bitty Wind MP3 doorbell. So I'll put a link to it in the video description so you can have a look at it yourself. But it had all the essential ingredients I needed, which is the voice recording. It can be one custom ringtone, that's all I need, and it can be up to 40 seconds long. Again, more than I'm going to need. And that's about it, really. One custom tune that's 40 seconds long. Perfect for this project, I reckon. And it's £25, or just over £25 at the time of recording. And it's got a 4-star review. So, good enough for this project, I think. And here's what arrived. So this is the wireless doorbell with the recordable function. And in the box is an instruction booklet, which we'll look at in a moment. The doorbell itself, very important, it has this 3.5mm input jack, and then some controls, one for volume, looks like selecting. But yeah, it feels good quality. I like the texture on it. That wouldn't look bad if it was plugged in, so yeah, happy with that. And then in here, there's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. So we have the wireless button itself. Now apparently, I read online somewhere, I'll check in this manual, but apparently this doesn't need batteries. It works on a kinetic motor inside it. So when you push the button, that actually creates the energy required to send the transmission. And you can see light up that really, really faint green LED there, or light of some description. That's probably the most disappointing thing at the moment, is when someone's at the door, you want them to know that it's worked. And while it's a very positive press, and you can't mistake that, it would be better if it lit up a little bit more, but yeah. 3.5mm stereo cable, so for connecting from this to some sort of playback device. And then we've got various tools here. Looks like a back plate for, sticky plate for that, for attaching it to something. If you don't want to use these screws. Okay, so I think we have everything we need. All that remains is to read the instructions and go to the next stage. So what I had to do first was actually figure out what the notes were. And the notes, as it turns out, are B flat, F, G, and E. But I don't think that sounds Pink Floyd-y enough, right? I think it's the notes, and unmistakably so, but if I came to the door and heard that when I pressed the doorbell, I'm not sure I'd recognise it as Pink Floyd. If somebody told me it was Pink Floyd, I'd probably go, oh yeah, that's very clever. But I wouldn't immediately go, that's Shine On You Crazy Diamond. I'd just go, doorbell. If you hold that B flat against the other notes as you're playing it, you get a kind of pedal tone, and it sounds a bit more, it captures a little more of the essence of what I'm after. Try again, but actually hold the note this time. That has more of it, but I don't know, I'm just not convinced that using an actual chime is going to cut it, which means probably going to have to do it on guitar. I didn't want to use the actual piece of music from Wish You Were Here because that's just too complicated. There's too many elements in it, and that's not what I'm looking for. What I want is something that's much more pure and much more like a doorbell that just happens to play the Shine On You Crazy Diamond hook. So I've got a Line 6 pod here, my trusty Line 6 pod, which I've had since the late 90s. I've got a Fender Stratocaster here, not quite like Mr. Gilmore's, unfortunately. This one is more like Mr. O'Brien's from Radiohead. I've had this for a few years now, mainly because it's got this sustainer pickup in it. Won't bore you with the details. Anyway, I'm going to use this because it's a Strat and it sounds kind of like it. Again, I'm not trying to emulate the tone on the record. I'm trying to get something that is, in my interpretation, a kind of blend between the sort of sound, the sort of feel that they have on the record, and something that's closer to a doorbell chime. This is the sound that I have created. Sort of dialed that up in the pod. It's straightforward. What is it? It's a Brit Blues amp with a little bit of tremolo on it, so you can hear that. And the notes that we're obviously looking for are, that's the doorbell I want. I'm going into the PC, it's all going through my mixing desk here, and so I've got a stereo input here, coming out stereo on the pod. I'm just going to hit record, and then I'll play a few versions of it. Now that one's okay, but I really don't want the difference in volume between the first note and the second note, so I want the first note to sound a bit harder. Okay, that's better, but don't fluff the third note. That's better. I like that. Maybe try and get it just a little bit equal in volume, more equal. As I say, I'm not trying to emulate what's on the record here particularly. I just want it to sound recognisably like those notes. Excuse the frog in the throat. One more for luck. I think the second one's probably the best. Yeah, one more. Taking a little bit too far for a doorbell, but you know, I guess we could, since it records anything. Right, let's see how that sounds back. So we know the first one was goosed. Just pull these levels down, stick this up. So this is now the recorded version. We know this one, I goosed it. Yeah, so that one's got the volume's too low on the first note. This one was the one I thought I liked. Actually, that second note's a little soft when I hear it back. That's better. Alright, I didn't expect that. This one. Third note's too soft. You'd think 4 notes, how much can you get wrong? It's like, well, every single note it would seem. Yeah, okay, so that's 2. So I'm actually going to go for the third one, which is this one. Yeah, I think that's about as good as I played it anyway. If it works, I'll spend more time and get it better later on, but for now, that'll do. I've now got the file which I've captured out of Propellerhead's Reason. I've got it as a WAV file, put it into SoundForge on the PC as well, obviously, and I'm just going to tidy it up a little bit, just make sure that it's neat. It's currently sitting around -6 dB volume wise. I just want to take that up to maximum. I'm assuming that the playback on the doorbell isn't going to be that great, so I want to minimize the need for it to do any amplification. I want to do as much of that amplification in the file. Let's hear what that sounds like. That's with 6 dB added. So that sounds fine. And that's what, it's about 16 seconds long. Doesn't need to be that long, obviously, so take it down to maybe 12 seconds. For no particular reason. I think the actual device can play back up to 30 seconds, so there's no real reason to do this, but old habits die hard. When you're used to editing sounds to fit into tiny bits of memory on a Super Nintendo or something, you tend to just trim samples for the hell of it. Okay. Alright, I am happy with that. Next step is to get that file, save it out as a WAV file onto my iPad. Because my iPad has a 3.5mm output, which my iPhone doesn't, so I can't use my iPhone. And then I'll need to connect the iPad to the doorbell. Let's see how that goes. Next stage, doorbell plugged into the wall socket and switched on. I have the remote, and if I press the remote on this at the moment, that's what you get. What I want to do now is to follow these instructions in order to get the tune that we just recorded into here. Now, what it says is that I have to use this cable and connect it to my mobile phone, which in this case isn't going to be a mobile phone because it doesn't have a 3.5mm headphone output, but this does. So this is going in here, and I am connecting. Now, unfortunately, it's at the bottom of this, so you can feel it. Okay. So that's promising. Right, that's now connected. And on my iPad, I'm going to go and select Dropbox. And here's the file. Shine on you crazy doorbell. Right. So I've got that. And it says, play your favourite music on your mobile phone. Short press any button on the receiver. It starts recording when you hear a beep sound from the receiver. Alright, so I guess if I was just playing a normal piece of music, you'd start the tune and then the bit you wanted, you'd press the thing and it would capture it. But with this, I want the whole thing captured, so I'm going to start this and then start this. Let me test the file works first. It's coming through there. That's so cool. Okay. Oh, that's so cool. Right, so I need to press any button on here and then press this. Bit of a fiddle, but let's see how it goes. Excellent. Okay. I think what's happened there is it must have a volume. It must detect the volume, and when the volume gets too low, it just ends it. So it recorded it and then played it back to let me hear it. That's great. Okay. So if I press this, I don't know why it's doing. Oh, it's probably because this is still connected, is it? Alright. So if I press this. Oh. That's not what I want. Setting melody for transmit. Ah, okay, right. So you actually have to pair. Oh, well, that's interesting. So you have to pair this with that, which means if you have multiple versions of this, presumably you can pair them to different sounds. In other words, if you had a front and back door, you would know which bell it was that was going. That's kind of cool. I like that. But how do I actually get it to play the thing right? Okay, so I have to select it using this. Yeah. Oh god, not that. Oh, don't tell me I recorded over it by pressing this button, have I? I think that's the tune. Yeah, okay, right. Let's try that again then. Got too excited. Right. Press any button. And it should automatically cut out. Replay. Still. Okay, so that's how it's recorded. Now I've got to remember and take this cable out. Okay. So now if I press this. Excellent. Okay, right. So it's definitely in there now. So I've got to short press to select your front. Now press and hold the volume button for 5 seconds until you hear a beep. Okay, so that's the volume button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, bang on. And then what? Oh, no. I think what I've got to do, I should read ahead. Activate the transmit. Yeah, okay, just press the button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes! Fantastic. Oh, perfect. That's exactly what I was after. Right. Next thing, go stick this on the door. Stick this somewhere I can hear it. And wait for someone to come to the door, I guess. And there you have it. Shine on your crazy doorbell. I now have a doorbell that plays Shine on You Crazy Diamond whenever someone comes to the door. Well, you know, small things amuse small minds, and that one definitely amused me. I hope that was of some interest, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to add. Oh, one thing I will do is I'll make sure that the file that I recorded is available to share, so if you want to download it and use it in your own doorbell, go right ahead, as long as Dave Gilmore doesn't mind. I'm sure there won't be any problems.